Can't hear you.
Hey, Yashu, can you hear me?
Hey, I can hear you. Can you see me?
Yay! Yeah, it's working.
Hi,
Awesome.
hey, girl.
Hey, girl, hey. You look cute.
Oh, thank you.
I can see your earrings. I love them.
Thank you. I decided to Desi it up today.
I love it.
How's
So, how's
everything
it?
going?
I was gonna ask you the exact same question. It's been going good. I mean, obviously a little bit stressful. America has been going through a lot of political divides, so, but we keep on moving on and moving forward.
For sure, for sure. Well, we have got an amazing topic for all of you guys to slightly divert your minds from the political tension in this country at the moment, but then also to shed some light on a very serious topic that really needs to have a conversation of its own. My name is Yashu Rao. I'm a plus model and confidence coach, and I'm here breaking down stereotypes and beauty standards by empowering people to lead life with self-love. Be sure to check me out at the Yashu Rao. This is Desi Talk, and my co-host.
Hey, I am Srishti. I'm the assistant editor at India Currents, which is where you're at, india.currents. Follow us, and then you can follow my personal Instagram too, which is @problems. It's spelled like Prabha with lems, but you don't have to follow me if you don't want. So
Y'all
anyways, yeah, you better follow her. Follow India Currents. That's what it's about. So today we're going to be talking about objectification in South Asia and South Asian media and like around South Asians in general. So Yeshu, do you want to tell us a little bit about objectification?
For sure, for sure. So I first want to start with defining what objectification means. And today we're really talking about it in more of a sexual context. But sexual objectification means to see someone as, quote unquote, a sex object, right? And objectification could also be with a body part. It could be with a group of people. It could be with a society. It could be on many different levels. But in overall, it's more of seeing something as lifeless and just as an object, having no real personal feelings or emotions behind it, just literally being a lifeless object.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, today we're talking about how we see a lot, and it's not just the Desi culture. We see it in a lot of different cultures, but this is Desi Talk, and we really want to talk about objectification within the Desi community, and how we see men and women be treated as just objects. And I felt so connected to this very topic just because, as you guys know, I am a plus model. I'm a published model, and for me, I face it like on a day-to-day basis. Just from my social media presence all the way to how I'm seen in my family, although I definitely try my best to distance, my modeling career from my family. But I see it a lot. And sometimes...
So do you receive a lot of comments on I'm assuming like you're getting a lot of comments on your photos, and like obviously your photos already are like you trying to own your body and your sexuality. So like, what are the comments that you get?
Absolutely. One of the ones that I really love to share with people, and it's super relevant, especially with the Desi community, is because I see a lot of it happening with Desi men. So initially, my Instagram page was Book Yashu Rao. That was what my handle was.
Mm-hmm.
But I started receiving DMs from Desi men, slightly older Desi men specifically, saying, how can I book you for 3 nights? What are your rates to book you?
Oh my God.
I would get comments like these when the modeling career, the modeling pathway, if you see, for example, New York Fashion Week, a lot of the models, their handles are going to be book and then the models' names, because that's kind of how the industry works right now. Mm-hmm. So after dealing with this kind of like, I'm not going to call it harassment necessarily, but it was definitely just this, lack of understanding or innocent assumption. I don't know what the word is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. that, you can just think that about a woman because she carries her body in a certain way. For those of you who may know, Desi culture and stuff, if you tell someone about a model, what's the first thing that they would think, right? In my family, like the minute I would say modeling, the first question I would get is, oh, so now you post nude? Oh, so now you're doing porn? Wait, hold up. Modeling is not anything related to porn or anything. And in fact, I had never, until this point, had never posted anything nude, and I was posting only wearing a sari. So for me, like, I wasn't even posting wearing Western clothing. Everything was a sari.
Why do you think that they're assuming that? Because is it because of like what they think your kind of modeling would be? Is that the assumption associated with whatever they perceive your body type to be, or is it just that modeling means this in Indian culture? Because I actually don't know. Like, I'm not doing any type of modeling, so I'm curious. Yeah.
I feel like it's very like, again, it's like putting things into boxes, right? It's like modeling means you're doing something with beauty and your body. So beauty and body can then be broken down into different, objectifications, right? It can be broken down into different categories. Just kind of talking about beauty, right? I feel like I just want to share the story as well. Like, I actually had a potential client who I was trying to work with, and this person came to me saying, like, I'm one of the most beautiful people in my family, but because of this, I have been objectified by so many people. It's almost like my family's trying to sell me. Oh, she's beautiful. Why are we going with someone who's only offering that much of dowry? We can get a higher dowry. I'm sorry, lower dowry. The reverse. But it happens to men too. I see it with men as well. Like, it happened to me, right? It happened to me where I remember my parents found this alliance for me, and this guy, I guess his mom thought he was absolutely phenomenally gorgeous. So she was like, why are we settling for that girl? Like, you can get so much more money, like, and so that concept just blew my mind. It was literally like you're turning your son, this person who has a heart and a soul, into an object. You're like selling him for money. And I always, and of course the dowry system is a whole other conversation, but it just shows, like, even going back to that girl who was a potential client, that being beautiful, she would tell me this, like, being beautiful has become a problem for me because now I feel targeted. I'm a target for so many people. Like, my emotions don't matter. What I want doesn't matter. It just becomes like I'm an object. And I feel like in the Desi community, it's like, okay, how many of you who are Desi, be sure to tap in through the comments, ask your questions, drop your opinions in here as well. Be sure to interact with us. But how many of you have experienced Desi moms or Desi dads going, well, just, try to look beautiful now because after you're married, it won't even matter. Like, how many of us have faced that kind of thing where people are like, it's only until you get married. It's only until we kind of like get rid of you, sell you off. At least that's how I think.
I think at that point, what they're saying is like, it's not our problem once you're married, right? Like, I'm assuming that the beauty standard still holds once you are married. Like, you have to look a certain way, you have to act a certain way. I mean, in India, that's like a very different culture, so it's like hard to say what that would mean in this society, but like definitely there's so much weight put on women's beauty versus men's beauty in Indian culture. Like, they are objectifying their men in the way where like you can get more money for something, but I also feel like in terms of beauty, like that burden is on the woman. Like, you need to be beautiful in order for like a man to want to marry you, and if you're not, then you're less likely to get married. That's like the idea. And then, like, in Indian American culture, I mean, you see, like, a lot of times, like, fetishization of Indian women, but you won't see as much fetishization, this is a hard word to say, fetishization of brown men. Like, you won't see it as much. Like, you think of, like, if you even think of, like, people in media that are brown Indian men, you think of, like, Aziz Ansari, or you think of like I don't know. I would have to ask what people think. Like, who else can you come up with? Like, maybe, I think Hassan Minaj and, like, these comedians, and a lot of the trope that they fill is that they're not playing up their, like, sexuality, right? They're funny guys. And so there is this, like, interesting way of, like, how women are being basically put into, like you said, porn, and then the men are being pushed all the way to, like, you need to have a personality because you're not, you're not beautiful in the same way that we view other men. So I think that's, like, an interesting thing to think about, but then I think it relates heavily to, like, human trafficking and, like, how men perceive women and women perceive men, and, like, rape culture and things like that. So yeah, what do you think? Yashu?
Absolutely. I think you definitely nailed that comment there, and kind of coming back to what you were saying about, even putting women who express themselves more, or women who are out there doing things, being active, or kind of, shedding light on what we talked about last week, going to a movie past 9 o'clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things like that could lead into something extremely, extremely dangerous, even, because you're seen as just an object, and you're not seen as, okay, this is a person, right? And for those of you guys who might have missed last week's episode, be sure to go to india.currents, go to the IGTV section, where you'll be able to see all of the content that we have here at Desi Talk. But we kind of brushed a little bit over the topic of the Nirbhaya gang rape case, which was a very heavy topic. And I don't want to get too much into the details of that, but we talked about how we had a beautiful, young, successful woman who went to the movies, and the resultant of her going out late, which again is 9 p.m. Okay, ended up with her getting raped. And when they later interviewed those who were convicted of this particular crime, they were like, I don't see what's wrong. I mean, she was out after 9 o'clock. Like, hello, that's an invitation for me to come rape her. Like, come on. And to me, that was just like, what?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It blows my mind. And then again, kind of coming back, it's just this open invitation. I remember, I love this. I love this. And tell me if any of you can relate to this. If you can, be sure to comment below. How many of you have, like, been in India, right? And your relative, and you just walk in the streets of India doing your thing, right? And then one of your relatives tells you, girl, like, put your chunari back on and cover your
up. Yeah.
cover your chest. And I used to be like, well, let me ask you, auntie, why are you showing off your waist and your midriff and that? Like, why are you showing off all of that? And I'm wearing a dress. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it wasn't like I wasn't wearing anything. I'm wearing a full dress. But why is it that I had to have this extra garment? For the like, traditionally, maybe it has another meaning. Okay, traditionally, maybe a sari, there's a meaning behind draping it the way it gets draped. There's a way that you wear salwar kameez. There's an aesthetic purpose to it. Like, removing that. That's not what they said. They said, cover yourself up. Yeah. So my question is, like, how many of you have experienced that? Have you experienced that, Srishti?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, traveling to India, especially I'm Bihari, so when you go to Bihar, I don't dress the way I would dress here, and I would wear, like, even in jeans, like, you get objectified and people will try to touch you and grab you and squeeze you, and, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I think the interesting thing in India is, like, men don't care. Your body is, like, their property. They feel like they deserve it, and they don't care what they have to do to get to it. So, like, I'm not like a very provocative dresser, which is just, like, my style. Like, even then, like, just wearing jeans and a shirt, or, like, I would wear a kurta or something because I would get so harassed that I'd be like, okay, I just want to, like, not show any portion of my body. But at the same time, like you said, all the aunties are wearing saris and their midriffs are showing. So what's the difference? Like, my butt, like, is, like, showing a little bit more in jeans. So that's, like, a thing that you can, like, objectify more, I guess. But, like, I fully don't get it. And I will say, like, this isn't as a grown adult. Like, this is, like, a 10-year-old, I was aware of being objectified as a 10-year-old. And like my mom also made me super aware of these things because it's a tendency of the men there to like, you know, they'll, and this actually leads into a good topic, which is that, you know, women, there's a high rate of human trafficking and sex trafficking in India. So they will just grab you off the street and then you'll never see your child again. And I'm not saying that as like somebody from an outside culture. I'm literally saying I know people in Bihar where that has happened to them, where their kids, that women will have to like fully wrap their face when they leave at night, because if they see what you look like, they will take you. They will like take you from the street and you'll never see your child again, or like your family will never see you again. And that's like a thing that happens. So yeah, objectification in India is very scary. And I think that is why our parents are so hard on us in America, because they've seen the danger that surrounds like objectification of women. And so here it's like, you know, when your parents are saying to you like, Yashu, why are you dressing nude? Why are you modeling nude? Whatever. I think their fear, like, I think you made a really good point in one of your articles where you said a lot of like the unknown scares our immigrant parents. And it's just this fear. It's a fear of like, okay, like if someone sees my daughter looking like that, will they marry her? They probably won't, because she's probably been raped or something bad has happened to her, because anybody doing anything like that in India would have those things unfortunately happen to them. That's not a good thing. That's not great situation, but that is the reality of it. So it does give me a little bit of empathy understanding the culture where we're coming from, to like understand why you would be faced with that kind of like, you know, not only the comments that you're receiving, but also that kind of like behavior from your parents.
Sure, absolutely. And, you know, I also kind of want to touch on like being a plus size woman too, right? Mm-hmm. And again, talked about this in previous conversations, how being a plus size woman, I feel like you're plus size and you're beautiful. That's also a big mess because it's like there's this assumption that if you're plus size, you're kind of seen as like a quote unquote like not worthy, or like, you know, you're seen as this like put aside piece. So it's easier for people to get to you. It's easy. You're an easier target because they think that because you have low confidence, you're not going to be able to fight for yourself. You are of less worth than someone who might not be. And I've seen this on multiple occasions. I went through that. I am a victim of that. You know, and so to see all of that coming together is awful. And you know, just you telling me about these things, it just brings me back like memories growing up. And every time I go to India, like two examples that I really vividly remember is once I was on a bus, and it was like one of those AC buses. So the guy was able to like put his chair back, but this person was sitting in front of me. It was not even a young person. It probably was in his 40s.
They're leaning back going like this?
Leaning back and went and started to grope my thigh. And I was like, what is happening? And then on another occasion,
the audacity, man, in public. Yeah, they don't care.
And then at another event that I went to, was like a local market that was happening around, and we were just kind of, me and my aunt, and we were just roaming around, looking around. And I remember there's this guy who came up, like stood right next to me, and I didn't think much of it. It was just someone who was also shopping, so he was looking at stuff. But then the next thing I know, he grabbed my thigh in front of like right there in public, and I was like, what? I just turned and gave him this look that just had him running, like he ran. But it just shows, like, is this how you're supposed to pick up a chick? Like, do you just go and grab a thigh? I mean, how about, hey, like, you know, you're beautiful.
Ooh, you're getting into like a good topic, because if you want to talk about Bollywood, hey, we can talk about Bollywood, because Bollywood shows it all wrong, guys. I mean, it really does. Like, if you talk about, like, okay, I watched Dil Se. Oh, my God, I could tell you. I watched recently old movies being like, what the fuck were people thinking? Sorry, I'm swearing, but it was insane. I was like, in Dil Se, literally Shah Rukh Khan stalks the girl. She tells him she's married. He still doesn't fucking stop stalking her. And then basically she gives in. He starts like sexually assaulting her. I believe that's sexual assault. He just starts groping her. And then she's like, oh yeah, I guess I'm fine with it now. That's what we're told. That's what we're fucking told is a love story. I watched Thal, same fucking thing. Aishwarya Rai doesn't speak like 3 words in the whole movie. She doesn't have words because she doesn't matter. She's just an object. That's what we're fucking told. Let me tell you another thing. I'm sorry, this topic really gets me really riled up. But like, okay. I don't know. I just get really angry and I know, this is just a spicy topic, you know, like growing up again, like personal experience. If I talk back to the guys, I do something, it is my fault. It comes back on me. The parents say, Srishti, why'd you do that wrong? It's because these fucking movies are telling us that women are supposed to shut up and not speak. That's why. And I really shouldn't be swearing, but that's truly, like, that is the reality of it, is these movies tell you and me, Yashu, to not have an identity. Our identity is linked to who we're married to, who likes us, blah, 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 blah. And that doesn't go away. That's subliminally there in our culture. Like, you see it because that's what that they keep honing that in. And like, now you'll see, like, you know, men that are feminists and things like that in America, like, they claim they believe in feminism, they claim they believe in this, but when you're taking in all this media and not critically thinking about it, how are you supposed to be any different?
Now, with that being said, I also, and I know we want to wrap up real quick, and again, if you guys found this conversation to be interested, be sure to tap into india.currents. Click on the little bell button up there, the alarm button, so you can get notifications when we post our articles. Be sure to read my articles on india.currents. You can find them in my link bio as well. But, you know, just to touch on to that, right, just add in there, we talked about political influence as well. A lot of times I think to myself, well, because there's this lack of sex education, the banning of pornography in this country, in India specifically, I'm not sure about other countries, other Desi countries, but because we're seeing all of these things, we just have this population of men who really don't know how to express their sexual tension. Men and women, don't get me wrong, men and women. And then on top of that, you're absolutely right. Movies are conveying this completely different conversation. I just think about, like, movies here, and for the longest time, I would just be like, dang, I just wish some man would see me on the metro and say, oh, you're so beautiful, can I take you out for dinner? Like, that would be such a fantasy for me, right? Where in India, all we see is, like, one guy's like a bully, he makes fun of her, and then he's in love with her, you know? Like, this harassment happens, and then they're in love. So
wait, can I tell you one more instance in a movie which I thought was whack? I'm so sorry, I'm just thinking about all the movies. I watched Bahubali, and I swear to God, this guy doesn't know the girl. He stalks her. By the way, do you see how the theme is stalking in all three of the movies that I talked about? That's not because I watched them in consecutive order. I literally watched them at different times, and I'm just telling you. Bahubali, he does a sword fight with her. She's a fucking warrior. She's a warrior. She's doing a sword fight with the Bahubali guy, I forget his name. And he slices off all her clothes, and by the end of the song, they're married. Now, where's the consent? Where's the conversation around, like liking each other? I really think you've hit the nail on the head. Like, men don't understand their own sexuality because media, they don't have porn, they don't have anything else, right? Porn might not be the best way to understand your sexuality, but it might be a good way to remove the repressed nature of sexuality. But in terms of, like, media is really the only consumption of, like, understanding, you know, yourself. And, like, when that is telling you that you're supposed to just basically stalk women, that's how you show a girl you like her, then of course that's what men are going to do. And you see men that come from India that come to the US will stalk women to show them that they like them, and that's not appropriate, and it's not appropriate in any setting. Like, but maybe women have more patience for it in India. I don't know, dude. Sorry, keep going. I just wanted to bring that up.
No, absolutely. And I think stalking is a huge thing. I deal with it on a day-to-day basis. I have people hitting me up saying, like, wow, you're beautiful, which is fine. But beyond a certain point, when you start just messaging after messaging after messaging saying, oh, you're a firecracker, like, you're so sexy, and just keep it going, and because what you're trying to do is woo me. You're just trying to get a response out of me and go, oh my God, thank you so much, what's your name? You're basically trying to do the American version of, you're so beautiful, can I take you out for a drink? You're trying to do that, but you don't know how to do that. So your approach is stalk me and then just DM the crap out of me until you get a response out of me. But that's not the way to do it, right? That's not the way to do it. I see this a lot. I remember once I went live on Instagram. I love this, and this will be a good way to just kind of wrap everything up. Objectification, right? I was on live, and someone from India pops onto my live and says, "Wow, you're such a fatty," and then he says, "But stay like that so you can keep having nice milk in your jugs." And then he just keeps going. Like, this man does not stop, right? He does not stop. He's like, "You're so beautiful. You're like this." And I'm just sitting there like, of course I ended up blocking him, getting him out of my live. But I just found it like, does this person not, is there no proper etiquette behind communication? And if there is not, see, I'm not here to play the blame game. I'm not here to hate on my Indian brothers. Let me tell you now. There are some fine Indian men out there. Okay, I'm actively looking, single and ready. But the point I'm trying to make is learn the right approach. Learn the right approach to getting true communication and relationship building with an Indian counterpart. Like, if that's what you're truly looking for, right? There are ways to do it. And again, I
think like you said, the sexual education, like, when you don't have the skills or again, like, I know we talked I gave a lot of hate and a lot of shade on Indian men, and it's not to say that all Indian men are like this or brown men are like this. I think what I'm trying to highlight is the narrative that we see and like how to now move away from that narrative and what that entails. It's not just being like, I am not that, because, like you said, like, those same people will still DM you, like, body shaming you and things like that. And that's not okay. Like, right. I follow somebody on Instagram that's also kind of, talks about body positivity and things like that. And she shows, like, messages that she gets. And then also those same people being like, oh, but, like, wanna fuck, basically, And it's such a duality. Like, how can you hate somebody and then, like, hate their body, or say that you hate their body and then also feel sexual tendencies in that way towards them? And I feel like it's just repression and lack of understanding of, like, yourself and, like, what people think you should be with, like, objectifying women and where there's, like, a standard of, like, who you should date. And if you're not dating that person, and then there's something wrong with you. It's a lot of that. Yeah, society matters. What log kya kahenge matters, and it shouldn't. Like, it should not.
Absolutely. And for people who are genuinely trying to learn, if there are some fine men on this live right now, fine, beautiful women on this live right now, if you guys want to learn how to communicate with a person of the opposite gender or the same gender or whoever it might be, colleagues, friends, whatever, if you're trying to learn how to communicate, be sure to attend the sex education class, Sex on My Mind, Saturday, January 30th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Zoom. It is open to everyone. Everyone has to, y'all better invite one more person to join you for this conversation. I'm going to talk literally about communication. How can you ask someone out? How can you share intimate space? What is the definition of intimacy that you can build with a person, and not just dive in and be like, me, you, fuck. No, that's not how relationships work, right? And I want to leave everyone with just one thought. How many of you know Mia Khalifa? She's a porn actress, a Desi porn actress. How many of you know Mia Khalifa, right? I saw an interview that she did recently, and she talked a lot about, how she never felt like she was enough, right? She felt like she was never enough. And this is a very common narrative that we see and I'm not just talking about the Desi community. This applies to all communities. We see this. We've seen it with the Epstein trials and everything. Like, we see this happen cross cultures, okay? We see it happen all the time. But because this is Desi Talk, and I want to bring a Desi person into light here. She expressed to me that, like, okay, that insecurity, led her into getting into porn and doing everything. But then now she's at a space where she feels like she's literally an object. People don't see her as a human. She said, in her interview, I feel like anytime I walk out, people are literally scanning me and almost like scanning right through my clothes to see what's behind my clothes. And this is a narrative that happens a lot, where people are fantasizing and creating these, you know, thoughts of like how this person would be. And we see a lot of sexual exploitation. We see people taking other people's content, photoshopping out their heads and putting in, you know, like a nude body on it and doing all sorts of things like this. Catcalling, you know, saying derogatory things, staring down at people. Now, I'm not going to lie. I have definitely seen a gorgeous, fine man and went, ooh, okay, now he is handsome. Like, listen, I'm coming through full. Like, I am coming through with full transparency. Like, I have done that. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you who are on this live have done the same.
Yeah,
but there's a difference between doing that and then saying, hey, come over here and sit on my lap. Like, I would, you know, that crosses the line. And that is the issue that we're really talking about today.
I think what you brought up is very important, is that it is okay to find people beautiful. I don't think there's anything wrong with finding people beautiful. Yes, like Yashu and of course myself. But like finding someone beautiful is so different than like commenting on it and creating an identity for a person based off of their beauty, right? Like beauty comes in so many forms too. Like it's not just physical, it's like intellectual and it's inner, and like there's so many aspects to it. So to put so much emphasis on something that nobody has control over, what you look like, that's not a fair thing to do. I mean, like, you know, what you might consider beautiful, someone else might not want. It's subjective. But two, it's also like, it's just something that like you can't control, and it's unfair to judge someone on it. And so I think like I'm not exactly sure how to maneuver it. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say in terms of like how you should interact with it, but I'm just saying that like we shouldn't place so much value, especially within our culture, on that. So with that, we should probably end our live because it's been a good 30 minutes. But if you guys have any topics you guys want us to talk about regarding sexuality, please drop it in the chat and we will definitely try to get to it. We're trying to make this as interactive and as educational as possible. Thank you, Yashu, for joining today. Hopefully we'll get some guests, you know, soon on our lives who can like tell us a little bit more about what they think. And follow India.currents, follow Yashu Rao, the Yashu Rao, follow Problems, and see you next week at 6 p.m.
Sounds good, and see you guys soon. Again, be sure to check out the flyer. Is officially out. Saturday, January 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talking sex on my mind, okay? Diving into every single form of education regarding sex, from hygiene to anatomy to communication to defining healthy and unhealthy relationships, okay? So be sure to tap in for that if you're trying to learn, you're trying to grow as a person. That's what allowed me to grow and have such a big perspective about sex and all the different relationships that I hold with people. It's all because of the fact that I allowed myself to learn and grow. So be sure to tap in, and of course, comment, DM us. We are ready to hear what you guys got when it comes to talking. This whole month is dedicated to talking about sexuality. So be sure to engage in our DMs and our comments. Peace and love, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.